welcome to another Lenten daily devotion with Pastor Andrew. That's me. Hopefully, excuse me, you can hear me a little better today. Anyway, it is Friday. Tomorrow we conclude yet another week, our fourth week of Lent. We're still talking about coins. Yes? Today we are in, sorry, this stuff came up. Oh my gosh, computer stuff, right? Today we're talking about, or we're in the book of Ezra. I pulled this up on the computer screen here, and it just had a list of names and numbers because, and we'll find out today, it's like, here's the census of Israel. Here's our census. And how many are in this tribe? Boom, boom, boom. How many came from this patriarch? Boom, boom, boom. So all of that building up the census to Ezra 2:64 through 69. They read this way. And then the whole assembly totaled 42,360, not including their 7,337 male and female servants. And they also had 200 male and female singers, 736 horses, 245 mules, 435 camels, and 6,720 donkeys. When they arrived at the Lord's house in Jerusalem, some of the heads of the families brought spontaneous gifts for the rebuilding of God's house on its site. What a fascinating translation. Spontaneous gifts. According to their means, they gave to the building fund 61,000 drachmen of gold, 5,000 menas of silver, and 100 priestly robes. Oh, that's where it is. So, where are the coins in here? Well, it's that giving of the money, the census, all the different families and their spontaneous gifts. So what does our devotional writer have for us? Coins for the building fund. After nearly 50 years of exile in Babylon, the Jewish people returned to their homeland. The second chapter of Ezra reads like a census and then an accounting ledger. No details spared. All of these years later, we read the names of those making the journey back home. Servants and singers, horses, camels, mules, and donkeys. Specific numbers are given, right? How exciting this chapter is to read, right? 337, 736, 6,720 indicate the care the scribes, Ezra, gives to this narrative of God's promise fulfilled. 50 years of captivity meant some had marched to Babylon. Who had marched to Babylon would not be returning to Palestine. That was the point. It was exile for so many generations. 50 years in a foreign country meant children had been born and grown and had children of their own. None of them knowing the majesty or ritual of the temple. Yeah, see, that's what makes the return from the Babylonian exile so just powerful, because the majority of the people that are coming back from the land of Babylon to Israel have never been there before. It's almost, here's the promised land, we're going back to it, right? Restoration and rebuilding required work, attention to detail, and the investment of the entire community. All 42,360 of them. The first place the assembly goes is the site of the house of the Lord. What remains? Rubble. Remnants of objects once used in worship. Imagine the mix of emotions upon seeing what was once the center of their lives, destroyed, but soon to be restored. In my head, I hear the voices of those venturing back to neighborhoods destroyed by fire and flood, looking at all that has been lost, but saying through tears, we will rebuild. The heads of families make a statement with their resources. They put their money where their hope is and give a free will offering, spontaneous gifts. Ezra gives us numbers: 61,000 daries of gold, 5,000 minas of silver, and 100 priestly robes. So determined were they to restore the place of worship and the center of their lives, the first thing some heads of the families do is put gold and silver coins in the treasury. Like those lead gifts in a capital campaign, those returning exiles model confidence in a yet-to-be-seen future, inspiring others to give according to their resources too. Coins freely given contain the power to cast a vision and shape the future. Generosity begets generosity, backing our belief in God's promises with our coins. Time, energy, and talents demonstrates faith even in the face of rubble, loss, and a whole lot of work yet to do. The donation of priestly robes matters too. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Here's all of this money and all of these people. Oh yeah, and here's priestly robes. I wonder if that was like the original, one of the original, I guess it wouldn't be welcome, but it's the original church women's group, right? And probably men. Men actually probably were the ones that made it up, because they were the ones that, had that. They were the ones that had jobs like that, where the women took care of the house and actually took care of everything else. So, yeah. Okay. I've lost my place. Yeah, the robes matter too. Ezra's detail of the handing over of 100 priestly robes reminds the whole assembly that worship will indeed happen in this place again. Those robes represent the foresight of one family as they were forced to Babylon. Like refugees and migrants of every generation, they took with them that which they most treasured. And someone said, "Get the priest's robes. We will need them when we come home." Rebuilding takes coins. Restoration requires robes. The heads of some families inspire the whole assembly. God's promises remain steadfast, and those who trust this truth stand on the site of all that was lost and see possibility. So much so, they make free will offerings with confidence and joy. So our three questions. First, have you ever experienced the loss of home or country? Gosh, right now, Ukraine, right? So many people just fleeing because of the war, right? Because of all of that. And the other day, I think yesterday, it was announced that we're going to be accepting 100,000 refugees into the U.S. from the Ukraine. 100,000. And to think, Ukraine is not a small place, and that's actually a very small part of the population. But it's 100,000 that we're seeking to save. And it's so sad because, we're called to support and to give and to welcome. I mean, these people have nothing. And you go on the internet and people are people, and the things that they say, this isn't fair to us. We don't have room for them. Give me a break. But yeah, they completely lost their home and their country. Have you ever experienced that, or have you ever seen that? Yeah, if so, what did you take with you, or what do you most miss? Yeah, so many stories I've heard from people fleeing in World War II. There's a woman in my first church who had to flee Austria. In fact, her story is quite fascinating. I'm not going to tell it here, but the things that she had to do. And it just, for her, it was just, this is what you do, and this is what we're going to do. She left with her brother and a change of clothes for him and like a change of pants for her. Yeah, she wore pants in the 40s. That was it. And the things that she, just had to do, because that's just what you do. You take care of your family, you take care of others, you take care of yourself. but just the stuff. And you ask her about, oh wow, that's quite a story. She's like, no, that's just what you do. That's it was just such a norm for her, even 60 plus years later. Anyway, read some stories of contemporary refugees, Ukraine. Just go on the internet and look. How do they survive from their forced exile? When have you made a free will offering in order to help shape a promised future? For us at Resurrection and so many other places, we call, connected to coins, our piggy banks for Lent. All that is going to 100% help with the people in Ukraine and everything going on there, as well as others, ELCA, Lutheran Disaster Relief, Lutheran World Relief, all those things. Let's close in prayer. Lord of coins and robes, families and animals, kings and servants, your promises will not be thwarted, even when we wonder why you delay in fulfilling them. 50 years, 100, a lifetime, generations. We await with eager longing the day when the lion will lay with the lamb, when crying and mourning will be no more, when your promised restoration will be fully known. Until then, grant us some confidence in you that we keep the priestly robes ready and make free will offerings daily. Amen. Spontaneous gifts. I kind of like that translation better, if you couldn't tell. So, until tomorrow, we're, I think this week, the only one where we were not in the Gospels was today. Tomorrow, right smack dab at the end of Matthew. So, until then, God bless.